So, welcome everyone for this session of Pragyan by Dr. Sravanthi. So, in Pragyan, it's an endeavor of ours at Team IPEMA to bring out new potentials. These uh, students who have completed basic and advanced courses with us, they are practicing all the concepts of PEM which they have studied with us, and they are applying it in their cases, and they are enthusiastic like Shravanti, Dr. Shravanti. They want to share their experiences with all of us. So together, this is a way we learn and grow. So this is a way we inspire each other that if one of us can do it, why not us? Dr. Harinath Manchanda, this is, yeah, I just muted it. Okay, Dr. Shravanti, over to you. So if there are any queries, you just put it in the chat box. If there is anything which you're not able to understand, let us make this a bit more interactive.
Okay, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so let me start sharing my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's being shared. Yeah, we can. Just make it full screen.
Is it better?
Yeah.
Just a sec, I need to change
There
my...
is double this next animation also. You
Yeah,
can make it more full screen so that.
trying to see how I can do that. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's full screen now.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. So, hello everyone. I am Sravanthi, like Dr. Meeta said, and today I'm going to be presenting a little case. And to give a quick background of myself, I have completed my bachelor's in homeopathic medicine and surgery from Hyderabad, India, Telangana. And then after that, I have continued my education and did two post graduations from both from Melbourne and both with full scholarship. My motto has always been to be driven by patients. Depends, I mean, it doesn't matter which method really, but really to be driven by the patient, tailor make what exactly is it that they require and approach the case in that method. So with that, let me start with the case. And this is a case of acid reflux. And before I start reading the case, let me give you a little quick background to this case. So this is a 29-year-old male patient who came to me last year. And this patient has been married for almost a year at that time. And he lives with his wife in Hyderabad. It is a city. And but his parents live in a different village called a village like 2 to 3 hours away from them. Yeah, so this case was taken mostly in Telugu, but there were also very important English words given by the patient himself, lucky for me. And yeah, it lasted for a little over 1 hour. Okay. So with that background, let us move to the case itself. So here the patient says, I have bad acid reflux. And just to let you know, the patient did not give everything this like full paragraphs, but there's really no point in doing it dialogue based. So I kind of made it a summarized information in this part. So he says, I have bad acid reflux, especially when I eat meat. He says, I get bloating and heat boils almost right away. I can't sleep at that night due to burning. Usually, no irritations. Gas does not escape from either end. So, a lot of rubrics we are getting here already. So, I avoid eating meat 2 days in a row. I like meat, so not able to go vegetarian. I don't use medicines. I usually observe my own body and adjust accordingly. I also have constipation issues. So basically, the patient is not very much into using medicine. So he's saying that he's observing his own body and adjust accordingly. He likes meat, but he observes that if he eats meat 2 days in a row, it doesn't agree with him and he's not able to sleep at night because of the burning. That's why he avoids eating it 2 days in a row. But then he eats again because he really likes it. So this all is very, very strong indication of the miasm. So let's keep that in mind. And then I asked, what else? And he says, cold water, cold drinks don't agree with me. He says, ice cream is a complete no. It makes me feel feverish. If I eat ice cream, I get headache. Nose gets blocked. I then have to take antibiotic. Okay, so all very strong indications of the miasm here. So then the doctor, I said, so looks like there is sensitivity to temperature. And the patient says, to cold, yes. I'm okay with heat unless it is to extreme levels. And I said, what do you do when you are ill? So the patient says, I don't tell anyone. I just take rest for a bit and then come out and work unless it is very, very bad. I don't like lying down for long. I inform my office that I will work but not be online. Can you still see my screen? Hello?
Yes, yes,
Am I
Dr.
still?
Sravanthi.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So he says he takes rest and he doesn't like lying down for long. So what he will just do is that he will inform his office that he will work still, but he will not be online. He won't attend any calls, but he will still complete his submissions. So then I said, then what do you do when it is very, very bad? He said that he does this unless it is very, very bad. So obviously, I asked, what do you do when it is very, very bad? And he says, if it is too much, then I call my parents. They suggest something. It's a very strong indication of his inner age. So when he's not able to manage himself, he then calls his parents for guidance. Then I said, but when you're ill, why not just take rest instead of working? And then the patient says, I feel like if I just lie down, I do unwanted things like watch mobile, etc. I would rather do things that are productive. So, unwanted things, productive things, indicative of column here. Even when I'm at home, and by home he means at his parents' place, indicative of inner age now. My father has business, so I help him. And he gives examples like his father has business, so he helps him in collecting money to do bank things, bank tasks, um, talking to people and everything. And he says, I like talking to people. I like networking. Then I ask, why? And then the patient says, networking helps in finding opportunities, knowing how the market is moving. I like to learn from people's experiences rather than from market trends. So, again, this is the first part of it is indicative of the column. He says he likes finding opportunities, know how the market is moving. So his awareness, what is the level of his awareness? What is this world? Then I like to learn from people's experiences rather than from market trends. Now, this is his coping mechanism. He wants to be involved in that world that he's aware of, but he wants to use other people's experiences rather than market trends. So this is the inner age. Then I say, why so? And the patient says, so that I can be self-controlled and avoid risks. If someone with experience says something, it is probably because they know, right? Again, so if he is considering himself less experienced and kind of clinging to people with more experience, again, inner age, which age might he be belonging to? So then I said, you don't like taking risks? And he says, no, that's not me. I will try to find someone experienced and ask them to do it. Again, experienced people. Then I said, why? So he gave me examples. So if I take risk, it will always be at the back of my mind. That is why neither my father nor I like taking any loans. So again, the identification with his father, which which level of awareness. So father comes here in play. We think, we meaning to say my father and myself, think, is buying this really necessary? So meaning to say, do we really need to buy this taking a loan? For example, just because now the market is going good with gold, I don't want to buy a lot of gold at a time and store it. I would still rather buy 1 gram at a time, take one step at a time. If you have 10 rupees and invest 8 to 9 rupees on a single item, then your mind will be on that constantly. I would rather only risk 1 to 2 rupees. So then I say, don't you think the returns will be great if risk is higher? Then the patient says, I already have enough. I don't need to take big risks. I will take big risks if I would be in a situation where I don't have enough security. So he's trying to reassure me that he will take risks, but only if he doesn't have enough security. So, talking about security now. We both, and he means he and his wife, are earning. They both have jobs and they are earning. And then we, now he means his parents, have own house and we have some gold put away. Now we rent here, meaning to say he and his wife rents in the place, rents an apartment in the place that they live at the moment. So they want to buy an apartment. So there will be no rental obligation also here. And then he continuously talked for like 4, 5, 6 minutes about his future financial plan. So again, strong indication of his column. What is he talking? He's talking about finances, security. A lot of earth element is coming through here. So I say, tell me about your lifestyle. And then the patient says, before getting married, it was all easy and happy. Now this is he's talking from a deeper level of his experience. I could see the shift in his energy. His face was happy. He was not just smiling, but he was happy. He was in his happy place when he remembered this time. I used to work during the day and come home and take time for myself. Example, play shuttle. He said also play carom board. So carom board is a game which it's like a board. There is a board and it's like billiards, but it's a little one. You use a striker with your fingers. It's a fun game. And he says, I was living with my aunt and uncle, and they used to take care of everything else, like cooking, cleaning, laundry, etc. So, inner age, strong indication of inner age. What age is it that everything is being taken care of someone else by someone else? Cooking is taken care of, cleaning is taken care of, laundry is taken care of, and I'm just doing my play. I'm happy doing what I want to be doing. And then now his energy shifts again. He leans back in his chair, the smile disappears, and his expression changes to be serious. And he says, but now that I am married, my life is completely different. We need to support each other and take care of everything ourselves. My work also promoted me to team lead role. So there is a lot of dependency on me. My project, the deadlines, and again, he continued to talk about this a lot. And then he says, from morning 10
घ्यायचं त्या
till
डब्यात आणि तो साबुदाण्याचा डब्बा आणशील बरं मी भिजत टाकला पाहते झालं
so
का
from morning 10 till 10 to 11 at night, there is continuously something or the other. And he says, even now they are calling me while I speak to you. So he's talking about how busy his life has become and all that. So then I organically I asked him, looks like you do not enjoy your work. You're not enjoying your work at the moment. And then patient immediately spontaneously said, no, I enjoyed and the learning here. And now I think I can manage the project all by myself. I am enjoying my work very much. So he's really trying to show how much he's in it. And he was like, the energy was also, he was in a happy place again when he was talking about his work. But he says, but this is impacting my physical health, like with digestion problems, weight gain, constipation, etc. Now, as we go ahead, I will also be expected to manage people. It is a little bit here and there, but I am enjoying it very much. So basically, he wanted to see me now because he wants to be more fitter for the future. With his lifestyle right now, with his priorities, the way he's handling his life right now. It's not going very well with him. He's having health issues, he's having digestion problems, weight gain, and constipation, in his own words. And he feels like in the future he will have to do more of this, which he would like to do, which he's happy to do. But then he wants to get to a better shape where he can do it. And then he also used his first non human phrase here and there, but then he insists that he is enjoying it very much. So then I said, it sounds to me that you're very focused on your career. And then it came again very spontaneously, immediately. He said, yes, my career is my first priority. So then I said, let's say there come circumstances where you're not able to meet your deliverables, because the patient, obviously, it is very important for him to be able to deliver his work, his job, his tasks. This is very, very important to him. So I said, what if there come circumstances where you're not able to meet your deliverables? So then the patient says, sometimes there will be many things happening at the same time, and I have to balance them. If I don't respond to even one, then they might think he's not responding. So he's still in level 4, he's still in delusion level, stubbornly refusing to enter sensation level, but we try. But even with all this, if I get a call from home, I respond to them first. Family comes first. So he did say family here. Then I said, okay, let us talk about the situation where come 10 things at the same time. So trying again to bring him back to the stress level, see where his sensation is. Then I said, what do you feel at that time? Then the patient said, I tried to normalize that by speaking to, and then again he went, because for him, this situation is all about his work. So he was talking about, I will talk to the client, I'll talk to my colleagues, I'll talk to my manager, always, have a communication, all that, and I'll try to normalize that situation. So then I tried another way. I said, what is family to you? Because he said before, family comes first. So then he says, family is my father, my mother, inner age, and followed by my wife. This is exactly the way he said, actually. My father, my mother, followed by my wife. Then he said, I don't call them every day, that is his parents. I don't call them every day or anything like that. But if they need something, I'm certainly there. I grew up with my grandmother's family, and my younger brother is 8 years younger to me. So his younger brother was born quite significantly apart to him. So he was alone in his family for 8 years of his life. So then he was pampered by everyone. That's what he says. Even now, whenever there is a festival, I go home. So for him, home is with his parents in his village. I don't like to stay here. All my friends come there and we all meet. So again, what is the level of awareness here? This is school age, very strongly school age. Is talking about my friends, my neighborhood, and then we all meet there. So then I said, what about social life here? So he has been living in Hyderabad in this place for almost 10 years now. But as soon as I'm talking about anything outside work, he's immediately going back to his village, his life there. So I said, what about his social life here? And then he immediately jumps back to his job and his work. He says, I'm good with my colleagues. I usually get along with my colleagues very well. If someone is dominating, I don't dominate back. I will be silent and listen first and understand what they are saying. And then I will raise my hand, put my view, and ask them, what am I saying wrong? This is in exactly his own words. He said, I will raise my hand, put my view, and ask them, what am I saying wrong? So where do we raise our hand? He's not exactly raising his hand literally, but this is his experience, right? So where do we raise our hand to speak, to ask, right? This is school age. My manager tells me when he buys some assets, and I also, when he buys some assets, and I also tell him when I buy something, he says. He actually wrote my year-end review while screen sharing with me. And he said this with a lot of pride. He says, because I'm talking about social life, he wants to say it's how friendly his manager is with him. He wrote the patient's year-end review while sharing the screen with him and saying, okay, what should I write? Is this okay with you? That kind of thing. So he's very friendly with his manager, and that brings him a lot of pride. And he says, with some of my network, we are doing consulting during weekends. So again, social life is again in terms of networking. There is a weekend consultations, and the little money that I get from that, I use it for little luxury. So even when I ask about all his outside job, social life, he's talking a lot of finances, lot of earth element coming through here. So then I said, okay, what kind of luxuries? And he says, I like visiting different places. I said, you like traveling? And the patient says, yes, I like traveling and exploring. I scuba dived in Goa, paraglided. I don't know. I use this word. I don't know if it is paraglide, whatever. You get the gist and all that. I'm also going to Canada soon. I have a childhood friend there. I'm going to visit him. We lived in opposite houses growing up. Again, see the school age, the society, the neighborhood, the awareness is to that level. So we applied visa for my wife as well, but that didn't come through. So 1 year into marriage, he's going out of country to visit his friend. This is not work related. This is fun trip. The wife is not included. It's like a glaring. This is almost which slide? This is slide number 8, but okay, we started in slide number 2. 7 slides so far, not so much talk about wife, right? So that's like a glaring gap so far. 1 year into marriage, the wife's visa didn't come through. He decided not to postpone his trip. Rather, he would go alone, spend some time with his childhood friend. He says, my friend has a hotel there. We will roam around and have fun. Okay, so this is all very strong indicative of column and row. Then I said, you don't get nervous or scared to scuba dive and paraglide? Then he says, as long as there are friends around, I can do it. School age. They encourage me to do it. As long as people are around me, I don't feel scared. Now, I said, you should do it more often then. And then the patient says, yes, now the dependency on me from the project side is reduced. We already put the basement, and now in second wave, we need to put the same basement again. So again, all his imagery is such a calcarea line. See, he's talking about the house, the basement is put. Now the second wave, again, the same basement. So it becomes easier, right? So it all shows us the level of evolution, his awareness. So because he put the basement first, now it becomes easier. And now his expression changes again, his energy shifts again. He becomes serious and he says, but now we have to plan for the future. That means when you say we, it is he and his wife. We have to plan for the future. We have been married for a year now, and we have to plan for kids too. And we need to support each other. This thing about supporting each other, this is the second time it was coming. And this seems to be a thing with him. So then I say, do you find that stressful? So he says, problem is the mornings. We need to prepare for the whole day. So he says, we need to do everything ourselves. We need to prepare for the whole day already in the morning. We need to cook, clean, wash, etc. and be ready by 10 a.m. It gets bit scattered. So boom, out of nowhere, we have our non-human word. He said it gets bit scattered and it came with this hand gesture. Can you see me? He said this. It gets bit scattered. Can you see me?
No, could you put your hands higher up, please?
Yeah, he did this. It gets bit scattered. Did you see?
Yes.
Okay. So then I said scattered. And then he says again, it gets uncongested. So now he was resisting entering into sensation level, but now he's giving me one after the other, all these non-human words. He said it gets uncongested. We are not dependent on anyone, so we need to do everything by ourselves. Everything needs to be finished on time. It is fully packed, another non-human word, because calls start at 10. So then I said again, what does scattered mean? Please explain to me a little bit more about scattered images, examples, anything. So then he said, for example, wife is working on something, and in parallel, something is happening outside, something is happening at home. I need to listen in on a call. So it is like a loop is running here. Can you see my hand? This is what he did. This is exactly what he did. He said, a loop is running here, a loop is running here, a loop is running here, and there is nothing connecting these. This is exactly what he said. So lately, when wife says something, I'm not able to remember. I'm forgetting. Nowadays, I'm ignoring what she says because I'm connected here. And by here, he means work all day. And if I disconnect from that thread, it will go in a different direction. It is important to me to be connected to that. And then again, he goes back to, explaining to me why it is important for him to be connected to that rather than what his wife is saying. Because he says, I'm in this project since discovery, so he is important and the work is important to him and he is important to his work and all that. And he continued to tell me, explain to me all that for some more time now. So then again, I said, what does packed mean? And then he says, scheduled and well planned things like an Amazon box, fully covered, nothing moving inside, he says. And then I said, what would be the opposite of it? And then he did hand gesture like opening a book. He said this, he did this, opening a book. Separating things from each other, like you are rolling here and there. He said this, rolling here and there. Out of the loop, like a pendulum, like mood swings. Functioning will not be as usual. These are all the words that he used. Like I said, he used little English, but that English words he used, lucky for me, very beautiful words he used. So then I said, what does congested mean? As he says, tightly packed. Again, it goes to packed, tightly packed. And I said, can you give me an example? And he says, it's like traffic congestion. I said, what would be the opposite of this? And he says, being composed, not being here and there. So again, that phrase he used before, here and there, being more confident. So he gave me an image here again. He says it's like a freeway, not much traffic, but on a regular street, long line of cars at traffic lights packed. Once the light changes, all vehicles move, go on their own way, scatter. So then I said, I'm sending you a picture. Look at that and tell me the thoughts that come to you. And this, I showed him woman one picture. And he says, a female fearing for something like harassment, unwanted behavior from others, something that is not acceptable, non-dignified things, if someone is trying to abuse her. So here at the very end, the patient confirmed the kingdom of himself. Okay, there was a lot of clues for the kingdom before, but in the very end, when I showed him the woman one, he confirmed the kingdom here, where he was talking more about behavior, non-dignified things, harassment. Okay, all right. So that basically ends my conversation with the patient. But here I would like to give you some additional information that the wife gave me, separate, parallel to what the patient told me. So the wife, like I said, was married to the patient for almost a year, and the wife was existing patient of mine. Now, a little bit of background from her side, okay? Almost 8 to 9 months into her marriage, the wife called me and asked me that she wanted some advice. And I said, okay, you can try me, I will try. And then she said that she was having some issue and she wanted to understand if this really is an issue or how she needs to react or respond to this. And her problem is that the husband, during the sexual intercourse, is able to penetrate her but is not able to ejaculate while inside of her. Okay, so this is the problem that she's having. Now that it is almost 1 year into her marriage, she's also very young, very inexperienced. She doesn't know how to respond to this. She didn't want to speak to her parents, but she wanted to understand how big of a problem this actually is. So she came to me for advice. And then after like 2-3 months after this, she called me again and she said that my husband has this problem with acidity, etc. I will tell him to see you. Please try to use the consultation, also keeping this thing in your mind. So this thing, the patient did not tell me about this issue, but we could have solved the whole case using just what the patient told us. However, I wanted to add this particular information also because that helps us later when we are analyzing and understanding the patient and the case in a much deeper level. Okay, so that was the information from my side, and now we can get to the analysis part. So first, let us look at the PEM analysis of the case. Firstly, kingdom. I confirmed this. I mean, in a few places, the patient talked about the sensitivity towards the behavior. Always he was talking about the behavior of the friends, of his colleagues, and everything. So this was definitely plant kingdom. He also confirmed this when I showed him woman 1. So yeah, behavior, circumstances, conditions, temperature. I wouldn't make that as a differentiating factor, because we have seen minerals that are sensitive to temperature very clearly, animals that are sensitive to temperature. However, when it comes to comes along with sensitivity to so many other things, then yeah, we can take that also into consideration as a supporting factor. Now we know that this is plant kingdom, this is dicot. So let us bring in the personal evolution model chart. So from here, I will slow down a little because this is where our analysis really begins. So this is how the dicot chart looks. We have 6 columns that go from left to right. And these 6 columns depict the evolution of the patient. Okay. And then there are rows that go from top to bottom. These rows depict the inner age of the patient or the development of the patient. Okay. Now looking at each column, right? Okay. The first column here is the column of Magnolidae. This is where the patient is not here yet. If we want to compare this with the periodic table of elements, the level of awareness, the level of ego development, it is equivalent to 9 weeks of fetal development inside the womb. So these 6 columns I was talking about, the first 3 columns are all womb stage. And the next 3 columns 4, 5, and 6, are after the birth. Okay, so in the first column, womb stage until 9 weeks. Now the second column is Hamamelidae, and here the development of ego is here and there. It is neither here nor there. It is both here and there. Does not want to be here, does not want to be there, wants to be here, wants to be there. That is column 2. Okay, and here the evolution or ego development is the second row of periodic table towards the left side. So lithium, beryllium, boron, we get towards the left side. Carbon is stage 10, so it is like in the center. So, but we can take that under this level of development as well. Now then the third column is karyophilidae. This is the birthing process. This is where the separation from womb happens. Okay, so that basically is equivalent to the right side of second row of periodic table. So oxygen, nitrogen, fluorine earnestly come in this column. Okay, then, and this is only when we are trying to compare it with periodic table, and I'm doing that because it is easier for us to understand. We have established that this patient is of plant kingdom, but because we understand mineral kingdom in the stages of development much more, because mineral is more fundamental, more basic, right? That is the first evolution kingdom. So that's why comparing it with that. Now, this birth has happened. Once the birth has happened, column 4, this is the mother stage. This is the separation from mother. This is the individuation level from mother to father going. But it is still water element. This is still any day. And this is comparable to natrum line of development in periodic table, silica line, natrum line, whichever way we want to call it. Next is column 5. Here it is the ego now splits out for the first time and says there is I and there is other. Masculine dominates here. This is the earth element, school age, and this is calcarea line. We can call it calcarea, ferrum line of development, whichever way we prefer, but that is column 5. And then at the last, we have column 6 with I and the world, I and the group. Fire element, this is taken by Asteridae. Okay. Now then, going back to our patient here, he showed very, very much school age of development, right? I pointed out many places that his awareness was very much of school age, his neighborhood, his job, his finances, the earth element, very, very strongly. Calcarea line of development. So this patient belongs to column 5, Rosidae. So we need to find the remedy from Rosid column. Okay. Now, then what is the inner age? We need to look at the row as well, right? So for the row or the inner age of development, we look into Erik Erikson's psychosocial development stages. Okay. In a nutshell, we have 9 here. The first one was not given by Erikson. In fact, also the last one. But yeah, this is how we do. Now, I pointed out in a few places where this patient was, right? Firstly, what is the age where he definitely feels like he's not experienced enough. He doesn't trust himself and the world enough that he can learn from the trends himself. But he wants to be involved in the trends, the financial, the market movement, and all that. But he doesn't, he wants to cling to an experienced person to be able to do it himself. So, what is that age of development? This is infancy, right? He wants someone else to take care of him. What is the age where everything gets taken care of? Even the basic essentials, cooking, cleaning, laundry, everything gets taken care of. That is infancy, right? Now, the additional information that I have given in the end of the case, the information that I got from the wife, I gave it because I wanted to also show you the other aspect of how to understand this patient, right? When we look at it from chakra perspective, the chakra that is active during infancy is Swadhisthana. It is the C2. But C2 is again active during the first phase of young adulthood. What is the young adulthood first phase? It is the phase of intimacy. It is the phase where we make deep relationships with the wife, and nothing can be deeper than a sexual intimacy, deeper relationship than that. And that is the phase. The young adult phase is where you also make that kind of bond. And obviously, the patient is having problems there. So this is really the case of C2. We can say it is the case of C2 more than the case of infancy. But like I said, even without that information, without doing it through chakras, we could have solved this only using the purely personal evolution model by entering the case through infancy stage. Okay, so now let's bring back the chart again. Let us see where this patient actually lies. So column wise, calcarea line. So that is earth element, the column 5, and row wise, infancy. And we do this. So where is the evolutionary stage of this patient? It highlights the order of Fabalis. So I used to call this Fabales, but I recently learned that it should be called Fabalis. So I'm still learning. Okay, so now let us think. Yeah, I mean, mathematically, it makes sense that this is the evolutionary stage, but does it make sense also if, in terms of symptoms, does it match with the evolutionary stage of the patient? So, yes, firstly, digestive problems, concentration issues, split very clearly. Yeah, so the earth element clinging. So yes, I think it makes sense that we are brought to Fabalis order. Okay. So then what do we look here? In Fabalis, there are a few families. Most popularly is Leguminosae, and then we have Cisalpinaceae, then we have Mimosaceae. I particularly, whenever we come to an evolutionary stage, I read all the materia medica of all the families that are in there. However, this patient helped me out tremendously by giving me the sensation of particularly one family. He said scattered, packed, uncongested, common thread, rolling, disconnected, and he gave me so many other non-human words also that I actually added to my notes because this is a solved case. So that all is covered by family of Leguminosae. Okay. Now then, of all the molecules we have, of all the thousands of remedies we have, we just really need to look in Leguminosae what this patient's remedy is. Okay, so in Leguminosae, very easily, very clearly, I mean, we can also enter this through miasm here, right? We can do that too, but very clearly, the digestive problems, the acidity, the acid reflux, the constipation, night aggravation, not able to sleep, all that very clearly brings us to our Robinia pseudoacacia. Okay, this is called yellow locust. Okay, it's a very, very beautiful plant. Michelle Yacker, ma'am, she describes this very briefly, but in a very beautiful manner. In there, very clearly was given the craving for meat, but that aggravates. Let me also read a little bit here, the Materia Medica, from the book that I have here of Dr. Rupal Desai. This is the book. Can you see our magnificent plants? Very highly recommend this book because after Michelle Yacker's Wondrous Order, this is my go-to book because in this book, we have a summarization of almost everything. Dr. Desai, she covers the sensation part of it, the materia medica part of it, the rubric part of it, exactly the way I like. So yeah, so this is what she says when we talk about leguminosae. The main sensation, therefore, seems to be that everything is scattered into pieces or out of control, behaving autonomously, and the coherence of oneness is lacking. This is exactly the sensation that has been given by the patient. And then when we read about Robinia, there is sick headache with sour stomach from fat meat, gravies, flatulent food, cabbage, turnips, warm bread, pastry, ice creams, raw foods. In stomach, heartburn and acidity of stomach at night, lying down. And in abdomen, there is bowels, greatly distended with flatulence, seem to fill up whole abdomen, tympanitis, better passing flatus. This patient actually gave me the symptom of incarcerated flatus. He did not find it, it was not moving up or down. There was no relief. Poor thing, he was finding it very difficult. So that was much more difficult for him. So from here, let me show you the rubrics that I have taken. I have avoided obvious rubrics here in terms of like the acidity, the burning sensation, because then that would obviously bring rubinia to forefront. Try to go with a little more individualizing. So there is incarcerated flatus, ice cream headache. I was surprised to see rubinia here. Exactly what was given by the patient. There is forgetfulness, disconnected thoughts, drinks, food and drinks meet desires. Rubinia was not included in drinks in nose symptoms after cold drinks. This I was not, this was a disconnect for me. And then, but there is meat aggravation. And then I also tried to look at if there is food that aggravates desires. Robinia was not included in this as well. So for me, it's just simply this, every patient teaches you a lot of things. And amongst others, this patient has also taught me that even though Robinia was not covered under these symptoms, drinks after cold and foods that aggravate desires, it does cure when indicated. So I have for myself made these notes. I have also found one other very beautiful rubric, that was single remedy rubric of Robinia. And this is exactly what the patient described. He said that he feels after taking ice cream or after drinking cold water, he feels feverish. His head aches, his nose gets blocked, and he feels feverish. So this is wards. This is a Puritan repertory. So obviously, very, very, this is a symptom coming directly from the prover's mouth. So very interesting, very important. So yes, I gave Robinia, started with Q3 with this patient. Week 2, the patient started telling me that he started to feel better with his constipation, better with his coryza, his problem with his head, his headache. He showed here when he said headache. More than anything, he was feeling lighter. He said he was feeling lighter. He was feeling more energetic. He was feeling better. 3 weeks into it, the wife sent me a message. Not 3 weeks into it, beginning of 4th week. The wife sent me a message saying that he was for the first time in 3rd week able to ejaculate while inside her. So obviously almost 1 year after the marriage, after the wedding, the patient was finally able to accept the wife into his intimacy sphere, it seemed. So I think Robinia did that. It was like 3 weeks into the treatment that this happened. So look how deeply our remedies work and act. Okay, so that was my case. It was very quick, but I thought it was a really interesting case. So I would like to thank Dr. Meeta again, and also Dr. Mahesh Gandhi for bringing this beautiful method to paper. It was really amazingly intuitive method. There is a lot going on in the background. I know each case we present only very quickly, but there is a lot of philosophy and psychological models that go on in the background of this method, and that's just very beautiful. All right, so
Right.
that was my case. Any questions?
Yeah, Dr. Shravanthi, it was a beautiful case. You can stop sharing. We can just have some interactive session. Yeah, so any queries? The case was beautifully solved. It was subclass 5 as it is a plant. What is subclass 5? The masculinity starts developing, and we could beautifully, Dr. Shravanti has shown that how his masculinity was not fully developed. It did not come to its full uh, bloom, right? So it's a child in the masculine column, infant in a masculine column, and after the dose the masculinity developed. So once the masculinity develops, he is ready for the world and he's ready to take up his masculine role in this world, and his relationship with the other develops. Yeah. So he comes out of the family now and he's out in the world where the father takes him, the masculine element, the masculine principle. So, Dr. Shravanti, you beautifully brought this up, the infancy of fifth subclass. Yeah. So, if there are any queries, you can ask Dr. Shravanti.
I think it was very nice when you illustrated the peas.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was very beautiful. It was
That
very
that clinched
surprising.
that clinched the remedy. The
Yeah,
peas, no, the
the
loops,
piece he
and then he
said that
said,
this
"All
one loop
they're not
here,
packed,
one. Yeah,
and they're not packed."
he actually at one point also said rolling here and there. He said this
Yes, yes,
pendulum
yes.
rolling here and there. Yeah,
That actually was the real clue.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
So, how everything comes together, na? Everything what we are learning in bits and pieces, everything comes together. From the first paragraph of the complaints, you said it indicates the miasm, to take note of it. Can you please explain?
Okay. So look, miasm, there are many ways of entering and figuring out a miasm, right? There are many schools of thought for this. Practically, what I find is look at the acceptance, level of acceptance of the disease by the patient. If the patient has accepted this disease into his life, this disease has become a part of his life, then he has accepted it. It is beyond psychosis or beyond psychosis. This patient, however, has not accepted it. He is very clearly saying that I look at myself, I observe myself, and every time it comes up, again, see, it comes up. Every time it comes up, I stop doing what aggravates it. This is malarial miasm. It comes up again and he makes sure, so it raises and then he makes sure he changes his life in such a way that it goes back. He has not accepted it. He's not going to take a medicine remedy. He has changed his lifestyle to do it. So this is malarial miasm. Okay, is that clear?
Very, very, very nicely explained. Thank you.
So no more further queries. Hope we are all clear and we can see how we used to give Robinia for acidity and burning, but now we understand the whole person. So the lesser known specific remedies, we are able to see the whole constitution and the totality of the case and the PEM understanding. Okay. So thank you, Dr. Shravanti. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
Yeah.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Meeta.
you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Rama.
you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, everyone.
Shravanti, Dr.
Bye.
Meeta. Bye
Okay.
bye.
And I will invite all of you all to present such cases, whatever you're learning with us, some clue. Everybody has a different perception of the same thing, right? Because as she said about the miasm, so if it is acceptance, it is before psychosis. If there is no acceptance, then
Beautiful.
this was so beautiful. I have not heard this
Lovely.
line.
Lovely, lovely. Such an
Yeah,
easy way to get into the miasm.
easy
Thank
way
you.
to get, this side or that side on the cursor. So whatever you want to present, you can just send me your case. We can learn and grow together once a month, last week of the month on Mondays.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we are coming up with a conclave in Goa in September. So the details are being posted there. We are working on it. So please join us there. It's going to be a 4-day study there, 4 days of conclave. There we meet each other, greet each other, we know each other, and we share our ideas. We have 3 speakers every day, and one session by Dr. Gandhi post dinner. He'll be taking general discussion. So 6 hours of study every day, and it's in Goa, so we'll have fun also together. So please join WhatsApp group of IPEMA. You'll get all the details there. And tomorrow we have mammals. We have second lecture
Mm,
of mammals by Dr.
mm,
Bindu Kohli. And day
mm,
after we have Manthan. So we have many
mm.
programs coming up. And also in April, we have 100th episode of ITC. And again, it's a 2-day celebration of learning for all these years. So please join us and tune to IPEMA WhatsApp group for all these details. Right? So thank you so much. Bye bye. Thank you, Dr.
Hi,
Shravanti.
thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.